welcome back into the hat trick. 3 goals in a hat trick, 3 guys on stream, 3 arguments or discussion points to make, presented by AI for Biz. Be sure to check them out. Sam, Casey, how we doing tonight?
A little tired,
Good. Tired,
but we're going.
Same. We're staying up for all these late West Coast games, these overtime games. But hey, Casey, our 2 teams are going at it now. Hurricanes, Flyers, next round. The only thing now that I'm hoping to hear is when this series starts. Obviously, as a Canes fan, I've been sitting around waiting a little longer. You guys figured it out against Pittsburgh tonight. So with that being said, Casey, let's start with your argument tonight.
All right, tonight's argument, gentlemen, is going to be why can the NHL financially not compete with the big 3? I mean, I'd say football, baseball, and the NBA. I mean, like, when you look at the numbers, obviously we all know what like the juggernaut the NFL is. I think the NFL probably has more people attend the draft every year than like people go to the NBA finals and stuff like that in terms of. I think, like, what'd you say, Sam? 320,000 people went to Pittsburgh for the draft?
Yeah, on night 1.
Yeah, like it. I mean, that's just unheard of for a draft.
I haven't heard the final number, but I know the year before there was like 600,000 that attended between all 3 days.
I know the estimated economic impact on that was like 500 million. It was substantial. So anyway, the numbers, the NHL roughly grosses anywhere from 6 to 6.8 billion. Whereas Major League Baseball brings in 11 to 13, the NBA brings anywhere from 11 to 13, and then the NFL is at like 18.7. So obviously, the NFL, you got bigger TV contracts, you have bigger stadiums, more attendance, and then the apparel sales. But why do you think hockey can't compete with, say, the NBA when it comes to they play in the same size arenas? I mean, they may play substantially more games, but I think hockey is a better entertainment factor than the NBA. NBA is just like watching like a pickup game on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, I guess you could say, climate, and not like the climate of the sport, but hockey is primarily Canadian, northern United States. It's not known in the southern parts as a sport like football, basketball, baseball. You can play it in the spring, you can play it in the summer, you can play it in the fall, you can play it in the winter. Hockey has been a winter sport. Granted, now we have indoor arenas and stuff where they can play it on there, but the history of hockey has not been an arena sport like that. So I think that has a big thing to do with it. Yeah, it's gaining popularity, and I think we're seeing it with Utah right now and how loud that arena is. Granted, it's where the Jazz used to play, and so they're hungry for that something to cheer in that arena. And I don't know why the Jazz moved out of it, to be honest with you. It's deafening. So excuse me. But yeah, I think it has to do with that. I mean, it has not been a Field of Dreams. They haven't had their Field of Dreams moment, I guess you could say. This year, entertainment value, like you said, it's been there. I mean, in the playoffs, you haven't had anybody win, I think, 3 games that have been decided by more than 1 goal. So the entertainment value is there, the chippiness, the fighting, it's been fun to watch. As someone who doesn't sit down and watch hockey religiously, it's been fun to watch the playoffs. So that's where I'm at. I just don't think that it's been engraved into the southern United States outside of Dallas, Miami, or North Carolina, not Miami.
So for those of us,
I was thinking Hurricanes and went Miami.
So. Well, Miami is Sunrise is the Florida Panthers who won the last 2 Stanley Cups. So you're not wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm talking this year. I mean, outside of those little hotbeds I think if you really focused at the college level, pushing hockey at the big colleges. Not, I mean, you got Notre Dame and Michigan, the northern ones. But if you focus an Alabama hockey team, a Auburn hockey team, a Florida University of Florida hockey team, a University of Texas hockey team, if you were to have the NHL come in and say, listen, we will fund the startup of putting a hockey program in your college to grow our product in the end, you might get something doing that.
They have started that, but it's very slow, and it's probably like maybe one a year, and they're not necessarily going after the bigger schools, which makes sense and doesn't make sense, right? They're trying to maybe get this ground roots thing started. I mean, they just went to an HBCU school the other year to tell them that they're going to try and bring D1 hockey to them. Interesting aspect. I think there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is the foreign aspects, right? You got a lot of guys coming over from Sweden, from Russia, from Eastern European nations that are coming over here not speaking the language either at all or very well, which makes it hard to get an interview that other people can, learn about this player or what, makes them special other than just watching them play. Again, hard to do when they play in a league that no one's ever heard of or see much of. So there's two aspects there. Like you said, Sam, it's a little bit of a cultural thing within the United States itself, where a kid in a low income area can pick up a basketball and play down the street, or a football and throw it with his friends, or even a soccer ball and kick it with people. You have to have a lot more than that to do hockey. And so because of the equipment factor, it's not an easy youth sport to throw people into. And then you add in the ice, almost impossible in a lot of places. At the very least, you could be doing, some roller hockey or something to get some of these kids in. One thing you said, they didn't have their Field of Dreams moment. They might have had their Field of Dreams moment over this Winter Olympics when they claimed all 3 gold medals for the first time ever. And
but has it resonated yet?
It started to resonate. They're saying after the opening weekend of the playoffs, there's the most viewed NHL playoffs of all time. That also is because it's being put in front of more people than it ever was put in front of before, too. So there is an aspect to that, you're just looking at overall, kind of like Casey said, like in NFL, like they're always going to be bigger because their stadiums are 2 to 3 times the size, right? So like you're never catching a sport where there's that many more people in your audience. The same thing with like MLB. How much of their revenue is generated from having 152 games or whatever it is? Like NHL is not going to have that. But yeah, you need to take better advantage of these situations. The 4 nations was probably just as good, if not better, than the outcome from the gold medals, just because of everybody that was at work the next day was talking about how crazy the start was, that they beat Canada, and then they didn't even win the damn thing. But it was still like the talking point when you spoke to people. So I think what they don't do well enough, kind of going back to one in a previous episode, I don't think they market themselves well enough. Like hammer it hard. Now we've got all these intermission and post game things. Why aren't we previewing the game to have some people understand what they're about to see? We don't have any pregame, none. If a game starts at 7, puck drops at 7:09. Maybe you have 5 minutes of preview and 4 minutes of commercial before that puck drop happens. That's it. That's not enough time for people to understand who they're about to see on the ice tonight. Diehards are going to be there. Those are not the people we're talking about. We're talking about the average viewer, I would assume, Casey, right?
Yeah, I mean, and like, and to your point, Dom, I think like Sam just like our viewers don't know this. Sam just went to the UFL game, right? Those Renegades.
Yeah.
But what was the attendance like for that? Was it decent?
Yeah, they only had half of the stadium open because of construction, but I mean, half of the half was empty. It felt.
I mean, like you compare the UFL to the NFL, and you can have that conversation, different show, but why the vast differences? And a lot of it's just brand identity. People who live in Philadelphia are insane fanatical, about their teams. You don't see that in California. Like I've been to games in California where like people don't show up till halftime, and even then it's half full. Like they'd rather sit at home and watch it on their TV for a better picture, I guess. But yeah, I think the potential's there, and like Dom said, they don't market themselves. And just my opinion, to go to the HBCUs as a way to try to start a feeder program, I understand it. It's a vastly untapped, potential market, but that's not your, your viewership right now. You should be tying into BYU, Utah, Oregon, the northern schools that have it. But Sam, I don't
There,
know if you remember
there's
when
a
we were
ton of, there's a ton of schools like Boise State, Utah,
mhm,
Tech. Uh,
Idaho.
I I think Utah even they have hockey programs, but their
Is it a club
students,
sport?
yeah, they're clubs.
Mhm.
So they already have established programs. So it wouldn't take hardly anything for the NHL to come in and say, listen, we're going to take your established program. And I know you got to add a women's side of it too if you add a men's side.
But
But
that's growing.
yeah, so there's stuff out there that you can do. And I don't know. I know that I just think that the youth are not exposed to it, and the youth will drive their parents to want to watch and stuff because they want to be part of their kids'
Yeah.
life and stuff. So, and it all comes down to think of the children. Think of the children.
Dom, isn't women's hockey like one of the fastest growing sports in the country?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they have, unlike the NBA subsidizing the WNBA, which I think is less now, or maybe it's not subsidized at all anymore. I don't know. I know that there was
It it,
discussion
it
about that.
is. They're still losing millions of dollars.
Still losing. Okay. Well, the PWHL on a professional women's hockey league exists. I think they run it differently. If I'm not mistaken, they'll do like teams are based out of places and cities, I guess. But I believe they do like a couple, like they'll have like 2 or 3 games in one city. You know what I mean? So like you're getting more bang for your buck. You don't have to travel to Boston to see the Boston team play every time. Sometimes they come down and play, somewhere else. I think. I could be wrong about that. That may have been like the first year and now it's changed. But yes, they are like adding teams to the league, and kind of a cool aspect that maybe is something they're trying to do to see how it does in the women's level is the best team qualifying for the playoffs gets to choose their first round opponent. So I think the example the other year was they weren't the lowest seed, but the first place team chose a team that they beat every single time throughout the regular season. Smart move. Kind of an
Yeah.
interesting aspect, and rewards the top team to be able to pick who they want. But yeah, it is a fast growing sport for sure. Even if everything we said, but Sam, you want to move on to your point here?
I do want to make a correction that I
Yep.
said. For some reason, I was thinking that the Utah Jazz and the Mammoth don't play in the same arena. They do, but it just looks so much different with ice instead of hardwood. You just automatically think it's someplace different. So I do want to make that correction for the viewers. But yeah, are we up to me now?
Yeah.
My
Yep.
hat trick of arguments.
There you go. Well, first of all, you got to show the shirt too. We haven't seen
yeah.
the bottom part here.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh,
Repping.
Yeah. Maybe after tomorrow or whenever the next game is, I have to look. I'll
tomorrow.
probably go get an Avalanche jersey somewhere.
There
But yeah, is the NHL's old guard finally losing its grip? Speed is the new currency. We're seeing the youngest teams in their series win their series, or not just win, but turn their series into high-speed track meets, forcing the veteran roster to play a game they can no longer keep up with. You got players like Jackson Lacombe surprisingly leading the league early this postseason with 8 points in just 4 games. Logan Cooley made history as the youngest American to score in his first 2 career playoff games. And Cutter, what is it, Gauthier?
Cutter Gauthier.
Yeah, that's. I think I said that right like 2 episodes ago, and whatever. These names, let's just give them initials and just be done with that. But he became his franchise's youngest player to record a 3-point postseason performance. These kids aren't just participating; they're dictating the tempo. But you can't count out the legends. Sidney Crosby single-handedly until tonight kept the Pittsburgh Penguins alive. And 35-year-old Matt
Duchesne.
Duchesne, yeah. My There we go. My editing put two words together. Did not look very veiny. Anyway, Matt Duchene remains near at the top of the playoff scoring leaderboard at the age 40. Brent Burns is still logging heavy minutes for Colorado, proving that while youth provides the speed, veterans still provide the poise. So experience, it used to be the gold standard for the Stanley Cup, but this year, youthful ignorance and pure exuberance are winning out. In 2026, the next generation haven't just arrived. They've taken over. The question is, can the Graybeards find one last gear before the kids leave them in the dust? So my question to you guys, has the younger generation finally started outperforming the veterans, and that passing of the guard is happening this year as we speak?
Casey, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, I think it's the game's changing. Like we had that, talking about the goals, shots on goals and the goalie percentages on the first show we had. Like the game has just changed a lot. Everything's more lateral instead of the physical bruiser style. So I mean, yeah, I mean, as you get older, you slow down. Like you can't, your stamina goes. It's just part of getting older. But I think the skill level of these younger kids is where the game is really taken off. Is like we talked about, whether it's the minor league or the colleges, these kids are actually getting a lot of time to hone their craft before they get to the NHL. Whether it's overseas, whether whatever it may be. It's fun to watch. I don't know whoever watched the Flyers Penguins game tonight. Like, there's a big difference in like mindset. Like, you could tell that the Flyers were just trying not to screw it up, and their passing was bad. They weren't as physical. Whereas, those are the games. To your point, Sam, the Graybeards would shine in. Like that's you slow it down. It's more physical. But these kids are just go go go, and then they do line swaps. It seems like more often to keep everybody fresh, and it's a lot faster.
Yeah, I'll make my argument really easy on this one. So the one thing I think we referenced before too is like the college football playoff, right? Like the veteran led teams, the older teams are actually outperforming, but that's because those kids are all still really young. We're talking about guys who are now 40 or almost 40 competing against the young 20-year-olds. It's different, right? So you can't compare necessarily the whole like veteran leadership experience at the college level to that of the pros, where guys are in the pros for 20 years themselves, right? You've got your Ovechkins and Crosbys that we're talking about here. I think this graph that we could reference, it goes like this, okay? And it's like, this is where the play used to be 40 years ago, and it just keeps getting better every single year. And a lot of that is a little bit of what Casey's already referenced, which is these kids are getting the tools, the coaching, the tutelage that they need far greater at younger ages than they ever used to show up, and the guy that was coaching you was drinking a beer on the back of the bench, right? Like that's not happening these days. These guys don't sit in the plane and drink beers and go downtown till 2 and 3 in the morning breaking curfew. Those days are over. These guys are inside playing video games, playing hockey video games. Sometimes they're in a plane watching, video from their game. They're getting video and iPads and screens handed to them on the bench to say, hey, here's what happened last time. Here's what we need to correct going forward. And then again, like Casey said too, and I think Sam also alluded to, it's the speed, the technique of how you skate, the strength training that has been going on in the background that has always been improving. And a lot of times too, to mesh it all together, is that there's now enough of a staff on each one of these teams that like you can have player specific programs. Okay, this guy doesn't need to lift as much because he's got the strength. So we need to focus on getting him faster. And then the opposite is also true. This guy is very weak and he gets pushed off the puck a lot, but he has the speed. We don't need to spend a lot of time on speed. We need to get him in the weight room and get him stronger so that he can fight people off. Like these things used to be just everybody did the same thing as a team every time. Now we're getting different types of mentoring and coaching and strength training, and just vastly improving the game overall. You, like Casey said, you see a whole lot less fights. Obviously, that's kind of making their way back in, but you don't see just the dropping the gloves for no reason anymore. Usually it's because of something happening. So, yeah, I think the game's just immensely evolved since, the 70s and 80s hockey that we're, not necessarily us are used to, but we've seen the highlights, right, Sam?
Yeah. So the old guard too, it's not just hockey specific. In every sport, they are getting older and older before they retire. You got the LeBrons and the KDs and the Hardings and the NBA. You've got the Rivers and Cousins and Rogers in the NFL. I mean, I'm sure there's some in baseball, but who watches baseball?
Don't say that to the Philly fan over here.
So I mean, you've got it's not just hockey that the old guard is there, and I feel like we're about to see a massive shift. A lot of people may end up tuning out. A lot of the older people may end up tuning out of sports altogether, maybe because all of their favorite players in every sport, I think, are nearing the last couple of years of their playing, and I just think you're going to see that turnover where the younger generation is going to start taking over that sport, and you may see, and the younger generation doesn't make as much as what the older generation does nowadays, or they have different priorities. So you may see a drastic drop in ticket sales and viewership and everything if that happens.
True. Good.
Yep.
I think where hockey's on the rise, and they may be set up to where in a few years they might be sitting not top dogs. I don't think anyone's ever going to outshine the NFL.
No.
But you could see them make huge gains in coming years.
Yeah, I hope to see it. I've always kind of hoped that hockey got more marketing and presence because I think it just combines so many elements from all the other sports that everybody seems to like, right? Like it's got the hits, and it's literally got like legal fighting, like a boxing match that can break out. Plus you've got like the speed. I mean, these guys are hitting over 30 miles an hour on the ice. I mean, that's incredible. And if you watch a guy like McDavid, for those of you who somehow haven't seen this dude already, they call him McJesus for a reason. Jesus walked on water. This guy just glides on ice like nobody you've ever seen before. It's just incredible to watch this guy skate around. But hopefully it kind of comes to a little bit more of the forefront. I think it's starting, but again, like we said before, there's things that have to go on in the background to continue that upward trajectory. So any more notes on that part, Sam?
Well, I just want to segue into here is with the game speeding up, your officiating also has to evolve. And if it doesn't, what happens, Dom?
You get in a way that's almost good for the game to some extent now, because you're wrapping this back in before I move on to my full point, but it creates chatter, and chatter online brings attention, and now I'm going to tune in because I want to hear what they're talking about or see what they're talking about. But that it still needs to be improved. This is an officiating problem. It's really across all sports, but magnified a lot right now because we're in the playoffs and the most important time of the year for hockey in general. So yes, the officiating has taken hits throughout the year, but there's a couple of big major points here, and the biggest thing is consistency, right? The coaches and GMs have taken video to the league and said, here's a call from last year. You called it goalie interference. Here's a call from this year. Looks basically the same. No major differences. And you flipped it this year. Why? What happened? And there's not a great explanation. And then you get things where we'll bring it back to the Ducks-Oilers game the other night where the puck ended up in the back of – it wasn't even in the back of the net, I guess I should say. It barely crossed the line. But it seemed to definitively cross the line once they got to review it. However, the issue is the officials on ice didn't immediately call it a goal. And then when they did seem to call it a goal, they did it from angles that would have been almost nearly impossible to tell that the puck was actually in the back of the net. So why make a call? Why not just rely on the replay? Because you're going to be able to look at it anyway if it was in doubt. So what are we doing? We're trying to make up a call just to say we called it. It's like, don't do that. This is not the time or the place to do something like that. You've also got stuff where a penalty that is called during the regular season is let go because it's playoff time. And you're always going to get a little bit of that. But I would say, in case, Sam, you guys tell me if I'm wrong here. What other sport do you hear that in as much as you do hockey? I don't think one exists where they're like, well, they're just not going to call that. It's the playoffs. Sometimes you get a little bit of that. And we've seen some egregious calls at the NFL level with what was it, the Seahawks and Saints, where the guy got like decleated in the air. They didn't throw the flag. I mean, it's human error. Those things will never go away. I'm not unrealistic. I officiated a sport myself. Like, it's going to happen, but you have things in order to be able to correct those. And sometimes they're either not relying on it at all or relying on it too much. I don't know. Casey, take it from here, and then Sam, I want your thoughts after that too.
I think hockey is definitely up there, but the NBA is another one. You look at like traveling; that's like almost unheard of to be called
True.
anymore, and it's bad. I mean, the NCAA still calls it, but the NBA, LeBron can walk from half court and not get a call. But there's the upsides and downsides that, like you said, with the attention, it does draw more eyes and ears, for the I guess drama, as people seem to be all about these days. Um, but I mean, I think the integrity of the game is where a lot of sports are lacking, and unfortunately for hockey, like to say, well, it's a playoffs, we're not going to call it. I mean, it's just it's asinine, honestly, to pick and choose what rules you're going to enforce, when you're going to enforce them. Um, but with all the technology we have, with with instant replay and stuff, like it's you shouldn't let games that have championship implications be dictated by poor officiating, or saying, oh well, we couldn't call it because we don't have, like, we're not going to use the technology, or whatever the reason may be. When you want to win a championship, how do you want to win it? You want to know that you beat everybody else, and you are truly the best team, not because the calls went your way. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I think that the replay has a stigma on it with the officials. They don't like to be overturned. Judges don't like to be overturned. That it's human nature to want to be defensive whenever you're attacked like that. Oh, well, you did this wrong. It's just human nature to do that. In high school, and for the players, you call that being uncoachable. When you get defensive anytime you're told something's wrong. So I think that until the stigma of replay is overturned and you view it as an aid and not as a overturned ruling, then you're always going to have the officiating pride, and they're going to either not call something at all so that they don't get that chance to be overturned, or they're only going to call the blatantly obvious ones and let the little stuff slide. And I think that's where you're getting a lot of this officiating discrepancies is, well, we don't want to be overturned, so we're just not going to make that call. Especially in a playoff game, because then you're like, oh, well, now you're magnified even more because you're in a playoff game. Everybody's watching you, not just two fan bases. So that could be why you're seeing it now. But yeah, I like what the UFL does. I know this ain't a UFL show, but your coach has a challenge, and you can literally challenge any aspect of the game. You have to get the number of the player that you're challenged. Like I went to the Dallas Renegades last home game last weekend. Took my son to it, and there was a questionable hold on a touchdown for Louisville, and it wasn't called on the field. Coach threw a flag, the challenge flag out there, and he said 77 held our guy. It ended up Dean Blindino. Yes, I said blind, because I swear I don't know what games he watches, but he ended up not overturning the call, even though there was a clear jersey tug and a clear hook and whatever. He ended up not overturning the call. Whatever. But you can challenge any aspect of the game, not just like what the NFL does and college does. So there's certain plays you can challenge, certain you can't. I don't know why they do that. If somebody sees something that affects the gameplay and you have a challenge, you should be able to challenge any aspect of the game, any call, anywhere, and make the play right. Not just in football, but in hockey, basketball, baseball, anywhere where they use replay, you should be able to challenge anything if you have a challenge to give, because you're not really taking any time on the game clock any more than what you're already allotted to take by being able to challenge anything. So what's the point? What's the point of not letting them challenge everything?
I
I
mean,
do.
go ahead, Dom.
Well, I was going to say I do like the thought process there for the most part. That the one aspect that's vitally different from football is like you got a set play, stops,
Yeah,
set play,
right.
stop. If there's something that happens and they miss it, and you're 3 minutes afterward, and you want them to go back and make that call, and then you're right. Now you're playing extra time, and you know there's maybe a goal that happened after that that's now taken off. You know what I mean? Like so
Turn it into a power
yeah.
play.
Yeah, I mean, you could do different aspects to kind of make up for it, but at the same time, then you know, like
Yeah,
you got to wait to the next stoppage to get that review. But I do like the thought process of like, here's your challenge. You can challenge whatever you want. I like that.
They do that in NBA and in NCAA, don't they? Where if it's questionable on a 2 or a 3-point play, they'll mark the
stop
time.
it.
No,
No, stop it.
Where I don't know. I don't know.
think
I've seen somewhere where they'll mark it, and then at the next stoppage, unless it's at the end of a game, at the next stoppage they'll go back and look at it.
yes.
So, I mean, yeah, what you're thinking of, Sam, like you're right though. But with the NBA, like when you score a point, you have to re-inbound the ball.
Yeah.
So like they'll stop it right there and review it and then resume.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've seen it happen too many times in college. Just, but yeah, like baseball, is the catcher and the batter can like call for a review for like the ball versus strike?
Yeah.
The pitcher, I know the pitcher signals. I don't know if that's the catcher then has to actually technically issue the challenge, or if the pitcher does. But if they do the double tap,
probably all three of them can.
Okay, because I've seen where the batters have like challenged it, and it's actually been going their way. But yeah, I mean hockey, like Dom said, it would be really hard to do the instant replay. Like with the game never almost stops. Like the only time it stops is what, icing, offsides, fighting.
Well, and that's something you can do too. Is if your coach says, "Hey, we want to replay this, get the puck out of play as quick as possible, so that you can."
Launch it into the stands, give somebody a souvenir.
Pop it back to your goalie to fall on it.
I do like one aspect I'll give the NHL credit for. I think they were really the first to do this, which was the Situation Room in Toronto, where they review every goal in the league, even if it's going to be a good goal. They look at it just to be sure that nothing crazy happened or whatever. I think they actually started that before everybody else that's kind of caught on doing that. So I don't dislike that. One thing I'd like to see
3 goals overturned this year with it.
Oh, there's probably more than that.
I mean, in the playoffs.
Oh, in the playoffs, there might have been. Yeah, there might have been. I know there was one in Carolina where they thought they won it in 2 overtimes. Or I guess that might have been the first overtime they thought they won it.
I know it happened in the Utah game and the Dallas game. So.
Yep. And the one thing that I think I would like to see that I would say bring over from soccer to some extent is have another official, because they all have one backup off-ice official in case something happens to one of the on-ice officials. Have them in like the booth upstairs, whatever, in the penalty box area or the scorekeeper's area, and have them kind of looking at stuff immediately.
Yeah.
Don't wait for a challenge. Here, great situation. It was the guy who did the sucker punch, Greg, for Ottawa against the Hurricanes. That's missed live. They're talking about suspending the guy all next season. Not all next season. In the beginning part of the next season, he's going to be fined. But there was no penalty on the play at all. If you got somebody who sees that immediately, you've got plenty of time before the next play starts. He hits a button and says, "Come on over. I'm part of the crew," right? This isn't some guy with a suit on who's just like hey, I think I saw this. No, this is a guy that you know and trust on the ice, and now he's just off the ice, just giving you tools. Hey, like I'll let you see it real quick, but you also know that I'm one of you, so we can make this call as a team, and we move on. Like Case said, I mean, you want these things to be fast, but that's why he's looking at it like already, like, hey, quickly kind of review as he can see. You guys are all tied up with these 3 fights going on, but I saw this over here. Just got to be clear, concise, and everything else. But we could spend a whole day talking about this stuff.
Right.
Right. Not wrong.
Oh man. But I think we had some really good arguments tonight, man. This was a really good breakout session, I guess you could call it, because that's another hockey term there. But Sam, we got to thank our sponsors for this one, right?
Yep. Stop losing time and money to busy work. Go to aiforbiz.com. That's AI for biz, BIZZ.com, and book a free AI business assessment call, aiforbiz.com.